So we're getting started with a simple sheet of paper, horizontal layout, and a thumbnail sketch, obviously. Okay, and we're drawing the falling water building in a thumbnail first. Okay, as a reminder, it's a bottom-up perspective. Horizon line with 1 point on our sheet, in this case on the left-hand side, and the other point 2 meters on the right. Okay, so it's off our sheet and we get a decently proportioned perspective. Careful not to get the perspective point symmetrical, because you will get a deformed perspective. Okay, so using that perspective point, we can actually go and take it a bit further, like a bit off the A3 page. And let's continue again on detailing. These are the cantilevers, the falling water. Okay, some vertical dominance there. Obviously falling water is modernist, so it's got very strong horizontal and vertical visual elements, let's say. Okay, so let's start thickening the contour lines. Obviously it's not the case to go for a ruler yet. That's going to happen a bit later, because you remember there's 4 stages. First we fill the page with information, then we go for the ruler, right, to get those clear, crisp lines, and then we'll go for hatching and rethickening the drawing. Okay, so a bit more detailing. Don't forget this this view's got a lot of entourage around our perspective. So we've got trees, we've got the waterfall. Okay, so yeah, that needs to be represented. Okay, a couple of trees going down. Okay, it's a good approach, you know, to add entourage all the time. This is going to basically give everything like context and yeah, just make all these buildings look a lot better. So left hand side perspective point, doing a bit of cleaning up. Now it's time to go for the ruler. Right, so with a ruler or a triangle, we'll thicken the verticals and the horizontals. Okay. Yeah, we need to over thicken those horizontal lines, because this way you'll have really good opportunities for, you know, adding gradients and stuff, adding proper cast shadows, you know, stuff that just looks good, and yeah, is how it is. So detailing is always essential. Again, because it's architecture, we're focusing on those sloppy, not so perfectly drawn lines, right? They sort of overlap near the corners. That's a very good effect you want to get for all your drawings, because if you do that, it's going to look like it's a sketch. Okay, it's not going to be just a drawing of you know, something that took you 10 hours. It's going to be like right off the bat, right there. It's going to have that edginess to it, you know. None of that really works. Makes basically your work look edgy and, you know. Okay. Well, so a couple of more details. Yeah, obviously we're going to get a very interesting overlap between the trees and the falling water. We will have foreground trees and background trees as well. So it's like it's putting our building, yeah, in context. And we will have kind of 2 materials going, actually 3. Again, modernist stuff. A textured material, which is the you know, natural stone cladding. The cantilevers, which will be probably concrete with finishing, you know, a matte finish, let's say. Oh, correcting a perspective mistake there. And obviously the glass, which will look like it's transparent. Okay, some shadows going on. Yeah, so because these boxes are obviously they're bottom up, you will have that bottom of a box, which is very important to always represent. Yeah, this is looking good. Right, so if any of your drawings look dull or boring, or you feel that something's off, 98% of times it's because you don't have volume shadows or cast shadows. In this case, we're starting with the volume shadows. I just basically like to jump from one thing to another, right? So I'm doing the textured material right now, and then obviously going back to hatching. You know, it's kind of more fun that way. You know, drawing is about expression, so the way you feel is important. You know, you add a bit of entourage, and then you feel that you need to thicken some lines and stuff like that. Okay, but at the end of the day, you know, when all is said and done, we need to have all the pieces on our board, right? So a bit of hatching for the waterfall. Obviously, there's going to be some water there, so we're looking at some reflections. And a bit of hatching for the shadows on our vertical dominance. Oh, cast shadows going on now. Okay, cast shadows are usually a lot darker. And yeah, just adding cast shadows is going to make falling water like pop out. This drawing is going to look so much better because of cast shadows. If you want to draw entourage, a good tip is to draw these ellipses to get like a blob shaped thing, and then you start doing the leaf hatching. Okay, it's just easier to break stuff down into elements. Okay, now, don't go for the final drawing from the first go. So these are subtle reflections, because you know the waterfall isn't just a waterfall. It doesn't run out of the building. You know, you got like a stream of water and then it falls down. Well, that stream of water is going to reflect. Okay, so the entourage is starting to do a very good job making our building like, you know, be in context, and a really good, interesting cast shadow is going to get some nice looking contrast between the cast shadow and those white cantilevers. Those white cantilevers are looking really good. They are going to look even better because obviously because of contrast, and not contrast just of, you know, dark and white, but contrast between these sleek horizontals and the vegetation around it, around our building. Okay, cool. Let's add more contrast. As I said, you know, you need to consider that everything is on a spectrum in terms of grays, white and dark colors. So simple white is a 0, and you know, pitch black, that is so, it's got so much contrast that it like reflects the light. That is a 10. So you need to have everything between 0 and 10, no exception. That's going to make your drawing look really good. And you need to have gradients, constant gradients going on your drawing. Keep this in mind. The human eye is always fascinated and attracted by this subtle gradient stuff, right? So if you add gradients, and obviously keeping in mind that, you know, the objects that are closest to you are darker, and they are further away as they move in perspective, that's going to just add good stuff to your drawing. You know, sometimes drawing is about you know, just using what works. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you need to reinvent what you think about anything. Okay, getting a crisp edge on that cast shadow. Shadows work their best if they like basically are very crisp. Right, more detailing here and there. Contrast, gradients, even the entourage has a bit of a gradient, because it just has, you know, a bit of volume shadow. Those trees aren't just made out of like a flat tree shape. They do have sort of a volume to them. But again, the focus doesn't need to be on the entourage itself, just on the effect. It needs to make the building stand out more. So we got a bit of a sky there. Because it's darker, it gives context again. Okay, so the building stands out even more. And yeah, we will thicken the cast shadows. We will thicken the edges which are closest to the viewer. Hatching could be composed hatching, but it could also work as, you know, this vertical hatching. Okay, this is going to work very well for giving spatial depth. These vertical hatching elements are going to give a lot of sense of perspective, and always the edges which are closest to us are darker. All right, an important element now is the border. We don't want to have a simple rectangular border because that's going to be boring. We want this border to match the entourage itself. Okay, so these trees, all these elements together are going to give us a border, right? A bit more darker tones for the sky. Again, it's not realistic, but it works. It looks really good. Okay, cast shadows again looking really dark. Okay, just a bit more touching up. If you remember, this is the fourth stage of a drawing where you go and re-thicken the lines. You go over the lines once again. Right, so a lot of elements. Now you always need a white paper under your hand because obviously it is going to smudge. We're trying to do a small reflection there of the trees around, right? It's a very small window. I'd recommend you get that window going with transparency, but obviously you can choose to go for reflections. Okay, and we're getting close to the end of our sketch. Okay, this is the final piece. Take care, draw nicely.